Welcome to the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G, Esquire the Fifth, Master of Detonations. I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills. We're going to break down all things Barry. Oh, yes, we are. Mills, you're not really from Joplin, are you?
Jamie G, I'm from wherever it says I'm from on the poster. I'm Magnum Mills. Thank you for checking us out. We are the Barry Podcast. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Remember to leave us a rating, leave us a comment. Really helps us out a lot. If you're not following our YouTube channel, please do so. And if you have any feedback, you can send it to barrypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for checking us out. Really appreciate it.
Please remember, everyone, we will 100% be spoiling all aired episodes of Barry, as well as any major media interviews or appearances. We will not be discussing any leaks, screeners, or rumors, just every episode up through episode 4 of season 3, all the sauces. Great title, great episode. Magnum Mills, exactly what sauces are we working with here, my dude?
Jamie G, we are working with episode 4 of season 3, all the sauces. Originally aired May 15, 2022. This one was directed by co-showrunner Alec Berg, written by Jason Kim. Second written by credit here. Previous one was past equals present times future over yesterday. Short plot synopsis of this one is: desperate to solve his Bolivian problem, NoHo Hank turns to Barry with a plan. Fuchs returns to LA with a vengeance. Sally celebrates the premiere of her show. Gene scrambles to skip town, only to be bombarded with reasons to stay.
I cannot wait to break down this explosive episode of Barry. Let's light the fuse on all the sauces, because this episode was the bomb.
Oh, we love the detonate jokes. And we open, trying to figure out what's going on here. We open with a woman named Julie talking on the phone to her husband, Phil, about their son, Kyle. At the end of their phone call, we switch over to Phil's side. He's in a hotel room, and as he lays down to sleep, he's shot in the head by a young Barry. We can tell as this is a very clean-shaven Barry. We flash forward again to see Julie in the future. She's got some gray hair now. Her son Kyle's quite a bit older, and there's a knock at her front door. It's Fuchs, and he's once again posing as Kenneth Goulet.
I'm not going to lie, Magnum Mills. When I first started this episode, I was like, oh shit, I thought I weirded out on HBO Max, because I was like, wait a minute, I remember this exact scene. Am I in season 1 or 2 here? This is really bizarre. And then I went back and I'm like, oh no, it's episode 4, season 3. This is it. So it was kind of cool. It gave me a double take here. I enjoyed this. And as a dude who sometimes likes to use aliases out in the world, Kenneth Goulet is it's a pretty awesome alias.
I think we saw Fuchs use this one in the past, so not a huge surprise there. And after that opening, we get the theme, and then we see Fuchs meeting with Julie. The now fully grown Kyle appears, and he tells Fuchs to get out of here. They don't want what he's selling. He escorts him out. As they leave, Fuchs tells Kyle that he knows who killed his father, and he gives him one of his red cards, which we will find out is Barry's home address written on the back.
I mean, this is kind of an interesting plot line. The last time we saw Fuchs, he was steaming steaming, ignoring his beautiful little slice of heaven, as he put it, goat of all goats. He was the guy out there, but he was steaming out of rage for Barry not caring about Fuchs, basically. I mean, it was bizarre. And now here Fuchs is, as our guy Mike Ehrmanschott would say, he's back in the game. And this is an interesting way to kind of get even with Barry, is it not?
Yeah, instead of doing it himself, you kind of wonder why he wouldn't just do it himself, but he apparently took that fairy tale, the fable, to heart. He's legitimately gathering a pack of vengeance panthers. So I didn't expect him to take the story so literally, but it's working for me.
Yeah, and no sign of Anna or any of his goats so far. We'll keep an eye out for that and let you know about that right here on the Barry Podcast.
Probably connected. Someone's got to watch the goats, right?
Someone has to. I mean, he is goat of all things goats.
He can't just leave his goats. I mean, he wouldn't just leave them. He wouldn't do that to them.
No. Fuchs, no way. Kenneth Goulet, maybe, but Fuchs, no way.
That's where you get the critter milk from. You have that milk for your critters, yo.
It's got to have that warm
a lot
goat
of crunchies,
milk.
And they don't even have the crunchies in America right now, apparently.
Shortage everywhere.
No crunchies anywhere.
Imagine how mad Fuchs must have been to come back to a supply chain shortage globally and realize, fuck, I can't even get crunchies here. Now he's even more mad.
There's nothing but wall-to-wall critters in the cereal aisle. It's like the Noriega video where they only have Noreos. They have no other cereal, just Noreos. You go to the grocery store and it's just an entire cereal aisle of fucking critters, yo.
It's just critters. Speaking of critters, we see Leo awakes to find Gene peeking out of his front window. Leo asks what the hell's going on, and Gene says that he fucked up. He pissed off the wrong guy, and they have to leave LA. Gene picks up 2 fully packed suitcases, but the bottoms fall out. Absolutely hilarious. New plan. Gene is going to get suitcases, and Leo needs to get Gordon packed up. Gene opens the door to leave, and he finds it's his agent, Tom Pissarro, standing right there. Tom wants to know what Gene did on Law of Humanity because they loved it. That's right. They're going to bring his character back to beef up his part. You might even have more lines. This doesn't make an impact on Gene at all. He tells Tom that he has to leave town because he pissed off a guy that he shouldn't have. Tom thinks that's right on brand for him.
Every single exchange between Gene and Tom is just gold. There's no all of it. Every single itty bitty thing they say. I like the double runner when Gene tells Leo first, I pissed off the wrong guy. And Leo says, Dad, you do that every day. And then Tom basically turns around and gives him the same one where they're just being right on brand. So
yeah, and you and I called this a little bit here in our predictions on our last episode of Barry on Barry podcast, where we said there's a chance that Gene may have just cemented himself as like a permanent fixture on this show, Laws of Humanity, because Humanity and the rest of them saw something so real between Gene and Barry that it was like, oh my God, this is perfect. We called it. It's what's happening. And I gotta say, Magnum Mills, ever since the beginning of Barry, Henry Winkler, playing Gene Cousineau, he gives off this Mel Brooks kind of humor vibe to me, but he's better. It's incredible. It's such a great job role played here of Gene Cousineau by Winkler. The wink, baby. I mean, when he picks up, he's total Winkler style and Gene Cousineau style here. He's staring out the window. He's panicking. Goes to pick up his already packed suitcases. Been up all night, and the bottom's just. And that would be like something that would happen in like Spaceballs or one of Mel Brooks movies or something. It just gives me that element of humor. I thought that was a hilarious scene, and I love when he opens the door and Tom's there. I mean, it's just, and then he's immediately as soon as all the shit falls on the floor out of the box, new plan. It's just so perfect. I mean, this was a great scene.
Yeah, again, everything between Tom and Gene gold. I do like that it's a little bit of an industry joke where Tom's like, on Laws of fucking Humanity, huge that show is, gets like a 1.6 in the demo. 20 years ago, people would have laughed at that. And I think it's just a joke there at how few people actually watch the big network shows these days. They really don't exist. Post Game of Thrones, it doesn't seem that anyone is kind of latched, onto any one thing like that. You're not into NFL football to draw that kind of, big audience these days. And just Tom, he gets a runner here because they kind of go from Gene's house to the car, and then they make it to the store in a bit. And he starts out where he's going to tell Gene all the things people have called him. And he starts out here with, people have told me you're a narcissistic, self-obsessed, petty, unhinged, their words, not mine, volatile, toxic, abusive, malignant, a scrub, a dope, a dummy, a loser, a cocksucker, a dump truck, a stone cold buster. And he just stops. And when we pick up again, he's just still going. Beautiful fucking edit. Crazy good job of picking that joke up. The concept being he's probably been going through like from the car through the parking lot into the store. He was just able to just let it rip for 10 straight minutes of the shit he's heard people call Gene. It's perfect to have him. He's our conduit. We get more of those Gene True Hollywood stories. No better way to get those than his agent. He knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. I really want this dude to stick around, especially because we lose Fernando. So we need another cool side character, I feel.
Big fan of Tom already.
And Gene's getting jobs, so it makes sense, right? Now his agent want to have something to do with him because he can actually make some dough off him, maybe.
Yes, this was a big win for the show. And, look, we've been pretty spot on about several things here on the Barry podcast. And I think the show creators were listening to us because we said, give us all the Gene True Hollywood story you possibly can. And it seems like every week we're getting a little dose here, enough to wet our whistle. And I'm happy with it, dude. This was a great addition to the show. I was like, man, where has Tom been all my life, dude? Bring me Tom. Like, Tom needs to be in here more. This is great and great chemistry between him and Gene. I mean, it was for their first on-camera scene here. Fantastic.
I have nothing but good things to say about all of that.
We next see Barry has arrived at Plants. That's right, Plants with an exclamation point to meet NoHo Hank regarding his upcoming job. Barry is not happy because instead of having to shoot one person, he now understands that he has to detonate a bomb to kill multiple people. Barry needs to detonate the bomb during their midday meeting around 5 p.m. while Cristobal is at Pilates. Hank asks Barry for his phone so that he can download the Detonate app for him. Now that he's set up, Barry just needs to know where the bomb is. Hank says it's right over there, points out the window to the furthest part of the parking lot all the way across. And Barry carefully retrieves the box containing the bomb, which is making a noise. And as soon as he lifts it up, speaking in a foreign language, which we believe is Korean.
When he's getting it and he's walking closely and you see Hank like sticking out the window, I go, oh, it's right there, and point and then duck down for cover when he's getting, it's just such a small moment. And I just laughed out loud. You get a bunch of great references here. Hank calls the guys Dom and DeLuise. That's a reference to Dom DeLuise, I believe. And the password is Suddenly Seymour 1985. That's a Little Shop of Horror reference. Also, don't forget the S's are dollar signs.
So great. And I love when Barry's like slowly walking up to the box, and he's like, he's like very careful, and he's all hunched over, and he's, it's great work by Hader here, but you hear he's stalling just a little bit, and you hear Hank yelling from the trailer, pick it up, out the window, and then he immediately ducked for cover. It's just so good, dude. Just so good.
And Barry is generally very good at the hitman thing, but I have one piece of advice for him. Don't let NoHo Hank register an app for you, because here's what NoHo Hank does. He's got the phone. He's doing the Detonate app. Here it comes. Would you like to receive Detonate special promotional offers? Absolutely. Can it access your photos? Yes. Location services? Always. Can I share your personal information with market research? Sure. Why not? And you are set. Never answer yes to all that shit unless you just want to get a new phone number and email address soon or something.
Yeah, that was Hank really screwed him over. Dude, I'm fascinated with the Detonate app. We'll get to it more as this episode unravels.
This might be my favorite thing that's ever been invented in the history of the universe, but I'm not trying to oversell it, just saying I think I like it. After that, we see that Sally's trying to pick out what she's going to wear to the Joplin premiere while Natalie takes notes for her. Sally says that she isn't making the show for the glory. She's making it for a little girl from Joplin, Missouri. Natalie freestyles a backstory for the little girl where she's named Abigail, but everyone calls her Thweety because her grandma had a lisp. Natalie keeps diving deeper into Thweety's background before Sally stops her and says, that little girl is me. And Natalie responds, you're Thweety? A little funny there, because if you're on HBO Max, you see that they usually just put a little funny caption for the episode, and that I believe that caption for this one was your Thweety ?
Yeah, and we've seen this a little bit throughout here, but it doesn't feel like Sally is super good to Natalie, right? Like Natalie's kind of like breaking over backwards.
Takes her for granted, definitely.
I think so for sure.
Oh, at the end of the episode, when she's going to leave Barry, she goes to Natalie's house. But yeah, she doesn't let Natalie in the limo. She doesn't want Natalie in the picture. She doesn't.
Right after Natalie says, can you believe we went from an acting class with Mr. Cousineau, now we're walking into taking a limo to a premiere. We're taking a limo, and then Sally gets in. She closes the door. I'll see you there. She's definitely a little hard on Natalie here, I think.
And then we go back to the dynamic duo, Gene and Todd. They've gotten to some sort of big box store where they're going to buy suitcases. Tom is trying to sell Gene on staying in town and rehabilitating his reputation. He now has a chance to be known as Gene Cousineau, great actor, instead of Gene Cousineau, giant asshole. I just made up that last part, but it sounded good. Gene isn't convinced, and as they go to check out, they encounter Joe Mantegna. Apparently, Gene and Joe go way back, and Joe has a restraining order against Gene. But that's not what this is about. Joe tells Gene that he's impressed with the work Gene did with that vet, Barry. He read about it in Variety. Joe pulls the article up on his phone and shows it to Tom. Joe assures Gene that he's not fucking with him, and he invites Gene to a dinner with some friends on Friday where they can bury the hatchet. He'll be sure to tell his lawyer to remove the restraining order. Tom tries one last time to convince Gene to stay, but his mind appears to be made up. He's leaving.
Dude, some absolute gems here between Tom and Gene. The dialogue is fantastic, and we get even more of the Gene True Hollywood story. What's not to love about this scene?
Oh god, I mean, and the choice of Joe Mantegna is just absolutely fucking perfect. Like just the right amount of celebrity and a guy who's always been game. I mean, again, he's fucking Fat Tony on The Simpsons. That's what always knowing that. And I remember really first seeing him as Joey Zaza, Godfather 3. And you haven't lived until you see Andy Garcia. She would go, Joey Zaza. That's Andy Garcia doing his Pacino. It's very fun. And you do pick the scene up with Tom still and like listing all the insults that Gene's had. And he picks up with cracker ass, fruity booty, whack as hell, weak sauce, fuckhead, fuck face, fuck nuts, shit fuck, fuck fuck. And Gene's like, wait a minute. Somebody call me a fuck? Yeah, Rob Reiner, 1994 was a Ghost of Mississippi's audition. Oh, did even just do dialogue when Tom's like, it's Joe Mantegna. Dude, shut the fuck up. Just so just everything about this scene. And then when they see the Variety article and she's like, you didn't have this made at Knott's Berry's Farm to fuck with me, did you? And then the actual Variety article, not many actors have accomplished the extraordinary feat of saving a soldier's life through acting. Barry Berkman was once a wooden soldier, but thanks to Gene Cousineau, he's become a real boy.
A real boy.
So, and we're not like, and then the line that Tom gives him when he's trying to get him to stay, and he's like talking about the power and laws of humanity. He says, "You understand what this means? This is the industry-wide amnesia we've been hoping for so long. Like literally, the only way he could ever come back is either everybody died or everybody forgot about him." And then, dude, the Tony Danza line.
The Tony Danza was
fucking Tony Danza line. Oh, not this bullshit again. I've explained this to you. It's racist. Just because Tony Danza happens to be an Italian doesn't mean he's hooked up with the mob. This is way worse than Tony Danza.
That is in the running for my favorite quote of this episode.
Oh, and the title of the Variety piece, Gene Cousineau, former actor, pays it forward for America's Heroes. Like former actor, right in the like talk about his career was dead. Like it was officially they had the obituary filed of Variety already, apparently.
Yeah, no, this
former actor just
you cannot say enough how hilarious and great the dialogue is here, dude. I mean, this is a slam dunk scene.
After that, we see that Fuchs is continuing to assemble his Voltron of Vengeance Panthers. Next up is Ryan's father. If you remember, Ryan was Barry's initial job in LA. Fuchs tells Ryan's father that the police investigation was flawed and that his information points to the involvement of Barry Berkman, one of Ryan's classmates. Fuchs appeals to him by pointing out that Ryan wanted to be an actor, which Barry is now doing. Barry has stolen Ryan's life in his dreams. Fuchs gives him one of those red business cards, which has Barry's address written on the back.
Another kind of, I guess you said, Panther to the pack here. I mean, that's basically it. I kind of forgot about Ryan, so it was cool, little tie in there to bring that back.
For the record, they're actually, like, you know how a group of crows is a murder or whatever? There's actually no word for a group of panthers because panthers are solitary creatures.
Wow. Well, a little irony there for you, Magnum Mills.
That's why the Vengeance Panther thing isn't, again, it's supposed to be a metaphor. It's not supposed to work. But Fuchs is going to make it work, right? Or at least he's trying real hard.
Oh, he's trying real hard. And speaking of Fuchs's original Panthers, Julie and Kyle appear to have taken the bait. Kyle is looking up Barry's address on Google Maps. Julie looks over his shoulder as ominous music plays. I guess they're really kind of convincing themselves here, huh, Magnum Mills?
Yeah, as we see in the final scene, they're not the most inconspicuous hit people ever. And no. I think there's going to be some good comedy. I'll talk about a little bit in predictions, but I really like the idea that all these Vengeance Panthers are going to come after Barry. But remember, like when Gene was trying to kill Barry, how bad he is at it, that these people are going to come at him, and it's just going to be incredibly funny. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. I really don't want some dark shit and a lot of death like that, but I would love for them just trying to kill Barry. Barry's like, come on, guys, can you cut it out, please?
Easily
like he did with Gene. He's like, Mr. Cousineau, can you please stop trying to kill me?
Yeah. No, I could see that. I could see that working really well. We're now outside of the fantastic Bolivian Airbnb. The two girls are still hawking their limonada. Barry pulls up and gives them some money to go inside. He's on the phone with Sally and he lies to her, saying that he'll be late premiere because he's on set. After they hang up, Sally prepares to head to the premiere in her limo. Natalie thinks that she's going to ride in the limo with Sally, but nope. Sally says, see you there.
Dude, that's cold because she's by herself. Like she was supposed to have Barry in there. Wouldn't you think she would want to have somebody with her? Maybe. Considering they were in the acting class together, it feels like the show is going out of their way to show her kind of taking Natalie for granted and brushing her off. And Natalie seems kind of astute. She's the one who pointed out, like, oh, she's only with Barry because Barry thinks like she's a star. And we'll talk about this at the end, but is part of the reason she's getting rid of Barry. Now she doesn't need it anymore because she is a star. And it just feels like Natalie might be the kind of person who gets, left behind right away, or just Sally just tries to, gradually forget more of their friends and treat her like an underling.
100%. That's pretty much it with that one, Magnum Mills. We do see now that Barry has crawled underneath the Bolivian's fantastic Airbnb, and he's getting ready to plant the bomb. He's being very careful, but at one point he jams the box into a piece of wood. The language that the bomb's speaking changes from Korean to Japanese, and Barry figures that that's close enough, and he hightails it back to his car. He opens the detonate app, and he hits the big red button, but nothing is happening. He's hitting the big red button again. Still,
at the point where he's hiding behind his car and he like sticks his arm up and like tries to point it at like the house when he's pressing the button
to make sure the Wi-Fi is working behind that car.
like it needed line of sight, despite the fact that it's in the crawl space underneath the house. Somehow the car was the problem.
And he's out in the open with just a car.
And the fucked up part is that's incredibly relatable, because I do that all. Like, you would be amazed in your house. My remote control, there are just certain angles for some reason. You're just like, come on. How many times I got to hit guide here? If it's an angle, is the cable box glitching? Is it the internet? Who knows these days? But in that moment, Barry felt the most human he's felt in a minute.
Yes.
We can all relate to the Bluetooth struggles. And apparently on this show, that's something you have to relate to, because it keeps coming up. After that, we see that Sally has arrived at the premiere, and it looks like a packed house. You can tell that Sally is very nervous and a bit overwhelmed, but she seems to take it all in stride as she answers questions and poses for pictures. Very nicely shot with the way they did the audio, kind of bringing it up and out and giving us the idea of Sally kind of being hit with all the stimulus of all the people and everything going on, and then gradually being able to slow it down and start talking to people and answer questions. She had the funny bit about how people told her not to eat, but now she wishes she was 8, but she's sure they'd have food there. And I especially like when the one reporter's like, you do not look old enough to have an abused daughter. And so I was like, oh, thank you for saying that. And then this stupid shit when the reporter, I think they're probably asking her beauty secret. It's like, oh, well, what's your secret? She's like, well, I wash my face and I try to get 9 hours. Wash your face and get good night's sleep, huh? That's you could probably, Gwyneth Paltrow probably charges $20 a month for that advice.
A minimum of $20. Yeah, no, this was a great little scene. Great job acting by Sally here. I enjoyed it. We then see Barry has been forced to call the tech support for the Detonate app. A service rep named Faye takes his call, and Barry explains that his app isn't syncing with the Bluetooth of the device he's trying to detonate. Barry gives Faye his username, Berkman Goes Boom, and Faye accordingly pulls up his account. She asks the 2 obvious questions. Have you downloaded the latest version of the app? And is the Bluetooth on? Barry confirms that he's not an idiot, and Faye asks him to hold. As Barry waits, we see Cristobal return from Pilates. This is just so good. I mean, we've all been there on customer service where you get the basic questions. I cannot stop myself from I'm dying over the username Berkman Goes Boom. I mean, this is just so good, dude.
When you combine it with the password, it's just
so good.
Everything about this is just the detail is fantastic. It's both kind of heightened, but also extremely realistic to the point it's easy to relate to. Again, this idea of the black market bomb that you have to get this app for, and it's a real company with customer support. It's the furthest thing from reality probably in the history of the show. And I love every part about it. I'm willing to let the show have a little bit more of a heightened reality, I think. Although you could say goat, like Fuchs becoming the goat of goats. Even actually, like Fuchs getting Anna doesn't make a lot of sense. Barry getting Sally doesn't make. So maybe these guys, it's like Seinfeld with it. It's kind of realistic, but just you have to assume that the guys are dating like 2 steps above where they should be.
Yeah, well, and you just know too that like somebody's had an issue with Bluetooth, and it's personal with one of the writers, and it's so good, dude. Because again, we mentioned this before. I think this is the second or the third kind of Bluetooth issue call out, and totally relatable though, right? I mean,
to their credit, this shit is for Christmas. I think last year, my sister, someone got me an air fryer, and I hooked it up, and I was like, "Oh, cool, new air fryer." And it kept blinking and beeping, and it would not stop until I downloaded the app and I hooked the Wi-Fi, the air fryer had to be hooked up to the Wi-Fi. Isn't that dangerous? I don't want to be able to accidentally turn on my air fryer when I'm 100 miles away or something.
Yeah.
That one does not seem like a good idea. That does not seem to be something that needs to be hooked to the internet. Just saying, maybe not everything needs to be a smart device.
Well, at least it didn't yell at you in Chinese and then switch to a faster paced Japanese to let you know that it's serious.
Yeah, it's spoken like a guy who's never had his friends change the language of his phone just to screw with him. You read your phone in Cambodian, I dare you. Try to find a way to turn it back to English. Won't be able to happen. After that, we get the scene inside the fantastic Airbnb because Cristobal finds Fernando and his men waiting for him. Fernando tells him that he didn't come to LA only to take over the Chechen operation. He also had a feeling that Cristobal had been disloyal to his daughter. Fernando has Cristobal's phone, and he reads some of the text between Hank and Cristobal out loud. Fernando tells Cristobal that he has a test with only two options. He can die, or they can go to his love nest where Cristobal will shoot his lover, NoHo Hank, in the head in front of him. Cristobal quickly replies that Fernando will have to kill him, and Fernando chuckles, saying, "It must be true love." Fernando turns to call his men over, but Cristobal takes off running. As all of this is happening, Barry's finally making some progress with tech support. Faye tells him to turn the Wi-Fi off on his phone, which he does. Instantly, the bomb explodes, and Faye comments, "All right, sounds like we were successful." Barry starts to drive off, but he encounters a stunned Cristobal standing in the middle of the road.
Again, dude, this is just so good. I mean,
the idea that this is just so casual, the customer support, they hear the bomb go off and be like, "Oh, it sounds like we had the success."
Sounds like we've reached a success.
Dude,
it's
so honestly, dark in theory. That is so fucking dark, but it's so. Think about how many times a day that happens. Probably, they're actively helping you kill somebody, and that's just they're probably making minimum wage.
I know they're in some call center in like Milwaukee. I mean, it's incredible. But dude, as good as that is, I also have to just point out how good it was watching Fernando read Hank's text. I mean, this was make it two. The guys want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and try all the sauces. I mean, this was just so good. And Fernando's character is so perfect. It's sad that we lost him here, but really, really good stuff here, dude.
And they set this up well where they made him kind of tough to read, right? You couldn't tell if he was kind of this happy little kind of oblivious guy or if he was just putting on airs a little bit to, see what the deal was with Cristobal. And there was a little bit of both. He seemed like genuinely he was probably a pretty good boss and everything like that. But on the other hand, he was there for business and worried that his son-in-law was doing some shit he shouldn't be. So I think the character worked really well and everything. I'm more or less just sad to see him go. And one more good line he got in, like he told Cristobal, "So I gave you the easy work, like running LA, which is the same as running Disneyland. And yet you still fuck it up." I don't think he understands how hard it is to run Disneyland.
No.
That's all I'm saying is that's a cool line. But if you actually considering now that they're going through all the shit in Florida, they have their own like county and town, like all their own infrastructure and running. And even you hear like the characters running through the underground tunnels, and Disney's wild, man. That's
dude,
I don't think running Disneyland would ever be referred to as simple. So
neither
a little
would
bit of a
running
mixed
LA.
metaphor there, I would say, for Fernando.
Neither would running LA, the third largest city in North America. So like, yeah, that wouldn't be
right, because I'm not trying to insult the Bolivians or the Chechens, but when you're talking about these mobsters from other countries, I wouldn't put either of those two in my top 5 off the top of my head.
No,
you know what I mean? So we're not even talking about the big dog status here. These are lower level kind of, if you're doing like, Batman shit, we're kind of like fighting the Condiment King down here or whatever.
Yeah. Well, dude, you got to think, like, does Disneyland have, like, they might have like a larger GDP than like Chechnya, maybe? Like LA probably does, right? Like, I mean, you got to.
Disney's marketable capital is probably greater than the GDP in any given year of one of those countries.
Gotta believe that,
off the top of my head, I would make that bet, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Although Disney, everyone's market cap is taking a hit these days, but we're not here to talk about that. That's a whole. We can just go ahead and hit detonate on that one.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let me just hold the phone. Okay, looks like we had success. Sounded like it at least. Dude, a little bit sad to see Fernando and the bird crew go here. I mean, this is just so
I'm never
good.
gonna let the bird the crew will not die though. The bird sound will live forever in infamy. It will never ever stop.
It's kind of like it's a fine. Haven't brought that one back in a while, but yes, it will live on forever, probably on numerous podcasts and shows of Joe Blow Football Show that we do.
Oh, in my real life, when I do it, no one has any idea what I'm doing. They're like, "Sir, are you having a stroke? You smell toast?
Why are you air quoting?
You're air quoting. Like, did he like just seize up doing a Nixon or something? What happened?
It's so good.
You're doing it's like the V, the I am not a crook thing, right? You're kind of getting into the
a little bit
the way Cristobal did it. I'm just saying, and I feel like you have to do it that way. You have to honor where it came from if you're doing a proper homage.
Absolutely, Magnum Mills, and yeah, man. Anything else with this great scene, buddy? Before we move on,
I have more to say about Detonate, but let's maybe save it towards the end because otherwise we're just going to be here forever. I love so much everything about Detonate so much.
Oh, it's the best. Roger Dodger,
greatest love in history, dude.
Damn, double down. Damn.
It's double damn. At the Joplin premiere, Sally is rehearsing her speech while Natalie is searching for reviews of the show. Sally doesn't want to hear anything, but they tell her the good news. Not only did New York Times love it, it's a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Pam is only 27%. Sally seems to ignore the news and goes out on stage for her big speech. She starts off trying to follow her index cards, but quickly pivots and basically talks about the positive reviews that as the news really sinks in for her. She doesn't give a very coherent speech at all. There's a lot of gasping and wincing and crying and laughing as she bounces between thanking people and bragging. But the crowd, Magnum Mills, they don't really mind that much here, do they? They don't really mind this. Not a good speech. But they did play the music for her, which has been great.
Oh, yeah, when she gets, that's one of some key quotes in there, and that is one at the end when she's like, "Oh my God, they're playing me off. I didn't think they did that at premieres." They don't do that at premieres. And it was also good physical comedy when you see her, that stack of index cards about an inch tall. General rule of thumb is 30 seconds per index card. She would have been there for, I don't know, 45 minutes delivering that whole speech. So maybe they did a little bit of a favor here. And this is a little inside baseball that Bill Hader talked about. This was part of reshoots that they did. Apparently the original scene was basically her just dunking on Pam, like talking about, "Oh, Pam got a 29, fuck Pam." And they said it was just really funny, but it was maybe just a little bit too over top. It didn't fit well with the tone of the episode, that kind of thing. So they made it more about the Rotten Tomatoes. But Hader even kind of says like, and she makes it seem like she literally just won an Oscar. They got 98% of Rotten Tomatoes, which a lot of is kind of, I'm not saying it's total bullshit, but those numbers aren't necessarily, especially when they first come out, it's generally a cultivated number. So she really probably shouldn't be celebrating to the degree that she is.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, I thought it was a great scene overall. And Natalie gets the line, because there's usually when something comes out like this, there's an embargo on reviews and stuff. They can't come out until it's premiered. And then when they come out, Natalie says, "The Infuego's been lifted." and Lindsay says, "The embargo's been lifted." The Infuego's been lifted.
The fire.
Dude, that's a line, man. That's I don't know if that was an improv or someone wrote that, but if it landed for me, that.
It lands hard, dude. And I will say too, I thought it was pretty cool that her first thing, the first person she thanked was actually her amazing. She made it seem like it was a goddamn life coach, but her acting coach, Mr. Gene Cousineau, first person that gets thanked. Gene's on the come up here, bro. It's the Cousineau action, dude. It's he's getting a lot of love.
Yeah, you have to think that this is going to be some kind of thing, right? Their stars are kind of rising at the same time, and something probably becomes of this. And Sally, I love her, but she definitely kind of goes back and forth between seeing kind of humbled by the success and also kind of bragging a lot. And even when she's like, "Oh, I didn't write, direct, produce, and star in Joplin for the glory." In what world is that not a humble brag? That's just
no world. Westworld.
I don't know. They might be off their loops in that one. I haven't watched the season 4 trailer yet. And and then the one line I did like that she gives her, when I think that's kind of true, when she says, "If you believe your best review, you got to believe the worst." Totally agree with that. But then she goes on, "So after I got called unforgivable in the Pasadena Star, I vowed to never read another review, but 98, 90 fucking 8." I just like that because I once throw up an Oldsmobile 98, maybe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe you did. We then see Barry drop off Cristobal with NoHo Hank, and Hank thanks Barry and gives him a huge duffel bag filled with cash. Barry watches Hank gently lead Cristobal to the couch before he leaves. I mean, I'm totally shipping NoHo Hank and Cristobal. They're such a good, sweet couple here, dude. I'm happy for them.
I think what we need though is for them to like have the official alliance, like as they would say in Game of Thrones, like unite the houses. That's what they really need, because then maybe they could get out of that bottom tier Condiment King shit and at least get into like the Mr. Freeze tier or something like that if we're doing it in Batman villain terms. You know, pretty simple scene here. Another thing I did pick up listening to an interview with Hader is it's something I thought too, the way Barry looks at them, he definitely stops for a minute and Hank's kind of gently leading Cristobal to sit down on the couch or whatever. And what Hader said, he's like, oh, at that moment, Barry's thinking like, oh man, I wish I had something like that. Which to me, the way he said is the implication is that Barry doesn't really view his relationship with Sally quite that way. And I think that makes a little sense when we've been talking about how she's always the one who says, oh, I love you, Boo Bear, and all this, and he never says anything back.
Right.
So you kind of wonder why is he in the relationship just kind of because? It's interesting, I think, because it makes you wonder how he's really going to feel at the end, because it really seems to like maybe he was cool with checking out of this episode, the relationship a little bit, but then he sees them and he's like, oh, I really want that in my life. So it's like a double gut punch when he goes to see Sally and she dumps him, because maybe he's finally like, oh, I need that. Maybe that's what I need. Not maybe that's my purpose. And then bam, right at the moment he's willing to try to really work on the relationship, she's out.
Good, astute pointing out there, Magnum Mills. We're back at the premiere, buddy. And Katie is waiting for Sally as she comes out of the screening. It went incredibly well, and they share a warm hug. Despite it not seeming like the best time to do so, Katie bravely talks to Sally about Barry. She says that Barry is a violent guy, and that the way he spoke to her the other day was awful, really scary, and just really, really bad. Sally weakly replies that Barry was in a mood, but Katie keeps going. That was just really bad, really bad. Sally is an amazing person, and Katie doesn't want to see her get hurt. Katie darts away, and Sally seems to kind of struggle to process what Katie just told her. You know, another thing, not to kind of toot our own horns here or hit the detonate button on ourselves, but dude, we kind of called out right here on the Barry podcast that Katie would do something to kind of get in between Sally and Barry, so to speak. So this isn't necessarily what I thought she would do. I thought she would maybe follow him or kind of run her mouth or tell or do something, and he would have to kill her or something. But this is an interesting play here, and it worked.
And you got to give her credit. A little bit of crossover with Sulliver Soon, our Better Call Saul podcast. And this is pretty general, but one of the characters is Mike Ehrmantraut. And his big thing is no half measures. You don't pass two things, you whole ass one thing. And you got to like what Katie does here. She doesn't go on Twitter. She doesn't leak an anonymous report to some reporter or something. She goes right to Sarah, tells her what she thinks. And it may be the hardest moment to do so, or maybe the easiest, depending on how you're looking at it. You know, is that a cushion, or is it going to maybe take what is the greatest night of Sally's life and add this, you know, bad context to it? And that's her job. This is her boss. That's a big risk that Katie takes. So shout out for that. And I thought the actress, Elsie Fisher, did a fucking great job here.
Yes, she did. She absolutely did.
Yeah, and you said we thought she would do something. This seems to make the most sense, right? What else could she really do? Can't go to HR, can't go to the cops. We talked about it. All she could really do was go to Sally. So from a writing standpoint, I think this all tracks.
Definitely does. We then see Gene arrive to pick up Leo and Gordon, only to find Barry waiting for him. Barry apologized for taking him hostage and gives Gene a duffel bag full of money to give to Leo. Gene's family is safe, and after today, Gene will never have to see Barry again. Barry thanks him, and Gene turns around as Leo enters the room. By the time he turns back around, Barry's gone. Leo asks Gene where he got all that money. Gene tells Leo that they're going to stay right here in Los Angeles.
Only really two questions here and they might even be tied together. I guess Barry's not worried about Gene going to the cops anymore, or is that the tie-in is that kind of what the money is? Because Gene has to know Barry says he did a job, so he knows where he got it. So if he takes that money, does that implicate him enough that he can't really go to the cops without, you know, implicating himself, so to speak? Does that serve a dual function here, or was Barry not even thinking about that? Was it just an honest gesture?
I think this was just an honest gesture. That's the way I read it, is this was Barry finally.
That's how I read it initially, but when I thought about it, I was like, well, what assurance does he have that Gene won't go to the cops at this point?
I
Because
think
remember when Gene escaped and he gets back to the house to find Barry, the first thing he does when he gets to the door is he call the cops.
right.
That's
I think
I was
now
only maybe Barry's just accepted it.
I think Barry's just kind of look. So much has happened since then, though, right? I mean, Kusuno's like got scared for his life. He had the whole thing at the scene where he slaps Barry. That was a big hit. I think Barry finally he did everything he could. He got him a job. It worked out for Kusuno. He delivers this money, and most importantly, he gives him an honest apology and lets him go. You know, it's like that old saying, like, if you really want something, let it free, and if it comes back to you, it's meant to be. And you know, I have a feeling Gene's going to come back to him.
I do like that sentiment though, because I would be very sad if we don't get any more Gene and Barry scenes. Plus, Gene still has to interact with people, right? He's going to be on Laws of Humanity. Maybe the Agent Tom's going to step in more. I do think it will be interesting if somehow he does wind up either being cast on Sally's show as a guest star, or they're maybe rivals in the ratings or something like that. Because we haven't gotten a scene with him and Sally this year yet, right?
No.
So I think
I think so.
that's coming. Early prediction here. I think we get a scene between Gene and Sally next episode. So that's an early little prediction. And that brings us to the premiere again, where Barry finally arrives. Of course, everything's all over. He asks Sally how it went. Sally says it was the greatest night of her life. Barry apologizes again, and Sally simply tells him they're done. Not because he missed the premiere, but because the way he yelled at her sent her to a bad place that she never wanted to go to again. Their relationship isn't good for her. Barry is stunned, saying that he just had a bad day. Can he have a bad day? Sally tells him that she's going to stay at Natalie's tonight, and Barry needs to go to the apartment, pack up his stuff, and move out.
So after that scene with Sally and Katie, I didn't necessarily think this was coming. This was a bit surprising. I didn't think it was going to be a full-blown breakup. But then after watching it and thinking about it, I can't see Sally doing anything else. She's not going to like bring it up and then try to like, it just felt like she was going to make that decision to do it or just sit on it and do nothing with it. And so it surprised me, but then after, upon further examination, cross-examination even, it didn't necessarily surprise me.
More or less how I felt as well. After you think about it a bit, I think it makes sense on some level that she might have more or less suppressed her feelings about it because she had so much going on with Joplin. She just did the thing where like, look, I can't deal with this right now. Let's do the Always Sunny thing and just, force it back down, not acknowledge it for now. And the way Katie brought it up, it just made it impossible for her to notice. But I think what Natalie said in the previous episode about her only being with Barry because Barry treated her like a star, I think there's some truth to that. I think that she was maybe willing to kind of put up with a certain amount of shit because she felt she needed Barry. And after this premiere, I mean, she's riding high, right? She doesn't think she needs anybody at this point. And the fact, the way she does thank Barry too, but the way she thanks Mr. Cousineau first, I don't know, it just, Sally seems, I love her, but I think the success is going to go to her head more or less. And I think this is the first part of seeing that.
Yeah. And I don't see it ending really
and I don't
well
know that
for
she
her.
needs to be with Barry. Barry is probably, in fact, an actual bad toxic relationship for her. I don't think she's wrong for getting out of it. It just gets kind of, Barry's the guy. It's his show. And at the end of it, we're here and almost everybody else has had a happy ending. You can almost end the show right here and everybody except Barry more or less has a happy ending. You can even argue Fuchs gets it if the Revenge Panthers are going to succeed.
Well, and maybe that's the plot. Maybe that's the point. I mean, Barry is the one who's been soul searching ever since he got out of the Corps, right? And Semper Fi, bitch. And that was a cool little shout out too with the with Joe Manny's in the store too, and they were buying the suitcases. But yeah, that's where I'm at with Magnum Mills.
And then we have one final scene in the episode, and it's back to the people we opened the episode with, Julie and Kyle, and they're debating about what to do. Julie didn't think that she was this kind of person, but Kyle says that it will bring them peace. He promises. He says that he can do it alone, but Julie replies that it's got to be both of us. That settles it for Kyle, and he tells the gun dealer that they'll take the Glock. The gun dealer says, sweet, and the episode ends. And on the out, we go out with Foot on Necks by Salt.
Bro,
And the gun dealer, he definitely heard them just plot to murder people and was like,
yes.
oh yeah, sweet, here's your gun.
I love how they shot this scene because you kind of see him like debating and sweating over it, but you don't see the dude working the store, the gun dealer at the store, until after their dialogue is over. This was great job, so hilarious, and also I think a little bit, kind of a dig on how easy it may or may not be to buy a gun in this country. And I thought this was really well done here. I love this scene.
Yes, and yes to everything you just said. That all tracks perfectly within the episode. Oh,
So
dude, this was an episode, man. I mean, this is kind of just the one mini prediction here. Do you think we get any more Vengeance Panthers, or just the mother son here and then Ryan's dad? I think he's going to dig up another couple here. I feel like I don't think.
I don't think he's
Panthers
done
for
yet.
him.
Yeah, I don't think 2's enough here, but
He's going to create the first Panther pack in the history of the planet.
I think we get at least 3, but my money's on 4. Now I'm curious who those will be, because he already used Kusuno once. That was his first Vengeance Panther.
Oh my God! Did that crazy little ninja chick girl die? I don't think she died. Did she? Like,
I don't think so.
That was hardcore. Yeah, that Ronnie Liller, whatever. I think that's one of the better episodes of the show there in season 2, when he has to take out the judo master dad or whatever, and then the daughter, and just that's some crazy shit. And she's my top Vengeance Panther that we know of. You know what I mean? Like, we could have figured out Ryan's dad. Maybe we had no idea about these other 2. Yeah. So you could do either or. People we've already seen, but of the people we've seen,
that would be a good play.
That's the one. That's the obvious one to bring back. I think the most fun, so to speak.
Well, that just about wraps up all the sauces. All that's left is to hit the highlights and whatnot. We can start by each giving out our favorite line or bit of dialogue from the episode. Man, dude, there are almost too many good ones to go with. I'm just going to keep it 100 and let you have free range. I'm simply going with that last scene where they're having all that internal dialogue about whether to do it or not. And you don't have to be there, Mom. I can handle this alone. And at the end of it all, the only thing the gun dealer says to him is,
sweet.
That to me is it's just so good, dude. And look, I'm taking an easy way out because I could literally pick 20 great quotes from this episode. This episode was a banger, dude, with a capital B and 2 R's.
I loved ending on that bit of dialogue. Total good fucking call. And there's so, like you said, there's just so many ways you can go. Shout out with Natalie with the Infuego has been lifted. I literally just died laughing. But I like the writing way, and it's the same thing, hammering home that Gene Cousineau has made some poor decisions, because you have Gene say to Leo, I pissed off the wrong guy. And Leo says, Dad, you do that every day. And literally 30 seconds later, Gene's telling Tom, because I pissed off a guy I shouldn't have. And Tom's like, well, I must say that that's right on brand for you, Gene. Just the idea that these are 2 of the people that know him the best, and they're both like, yeah, Gene, kind of an asshole, bud.
Yeah, they're basically endorsing it. That's for sure.
Or they're not even hiding it. I mean, the list of, we could go on and on, everything. And that brings us to our favorite scene of the episode for me, or moment, whatever you want to do. There's many ways you could go here. I would love to go with everything with the detonate app, but that's definitely spread out over more than one scene. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and just go with the bit where Tom and Gene and his agent are together, because literally every single sentence they say made me laugh. It was amazing. Jamie G, beat that.
Bro, there's no beating. That is some of the best dialogue. I mean, this is great dialogue, people. It's hilarious, and it works so well. And it's just, man, I love Barry. This show's great. That's why we're doing a podcast about it. For me, Magnum Mills, I am going with the scene where Barry goes to plants and he realizes it's a bomb and he has to pick it up. Look, any of the detonate shit is great, but I just especially love this one when he's realizing what it is and how he walks. It's all the way, the back of the plants, landscaping deal here. It's just an empty parking lot, and they've got it like 7 or 8 rows deep from the trailer that they're in. I mean, it's so funny, dude. It's just this little shitty box that's not even folded correctly, just sitting out there. It's just perfect. That's my favorite. That brings us to that time of the episode where we're each going to give out our Greek freak of assassins. That's right, our MVP of the episode. Looks like it's Jamie G's turn to go first here. I will do it. This is so tough because everybody has a good day here. Even, Barry, it doesn't end well for him, but he has his highs throughout here. I'm going with Cristobal only because he made a stand to Fernando when he was caught and he said, "You'll have to kill me." He manages to live. And where does he go? He goes to the loving arms of NoHo Hank. That's a real win as far as I'm concerned. I'm going Cristobal. And we get more Cristobal, more NoHo Hank. That's great.
Telling you, I want them to team up so then they can, because the Bolivians and the Chechens on their own, I don't think are that hardcore. I think if you combine their powers, you get a little Captain Planet Voltron thing going on. You're in business. My Greek Freak of Assassins of the Week, man. Dude, shout out Faye from Detonate Customer Support. I wanted to give it to you so bad. You were great. You were so just casual when the building exploded. Shout out Faye, but I have to go with Sally because the MVP here is supposed to be who won the most in this episode, I feel. And Sally basically won everything. I think even though getting away from Barry might suck for us as viewers if we're invested in their relationship, but I think it's a positive thing for Sally. Her show went over great. I think she might get a little bit so the hubris going on. Ego might blow up a little bit too much. I think she's treating Natalie poorly, but for the most part here, this was Sally's episode. So got to make her my Greek Freak of Assassins this week. Jamie G, it's about that time that all the people on Barry really like, because this is the important time. We're not rotten tomatoes or smashing carrots or smoking pumpkins or whatever the kids do these days. We're just going to grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10.
Because I'm the Fonz. Huh? Hey.
Fonzie is the coolest. So at the top there, we've never given out the 10. The Mega Fonzie is perfect. 1 is the lowest. My turn to go first here. I really like this episode. I'm struggling to find a problem with it. 9.8, dude. 9.8 Fonzies. Literally my minimal complaint I can come up with is I wish there was a little bit more NoHo Hank. And they killed Fernando. I love you, Fernando. Fernando was great, but you bring in Tom to replace Fernando, kind of. Got a similar energy going on. Great episode, especially after a little bit of a slower one, a mid-season joint here. Jamie G, give me some Fonzies.
Hey, bro. You're right, dude. This is, for me, this may be my favorite Barry episode of them all. Like, I love this episode. There was literally nothing wrong with this. I thought it was fantastic. Every scene crushed. Like, this was just so good. I'm right there with you, bro, but I'm bumping it up just 1. I'm giving it 9.9 A's total Fonzie here because, dude, this was damn near perfect for me. The writing and the dialogue alone puts us in a whole nother stratosphere. You add in the Detonate app, I'm done, people. 9.9 Fonzies. And that's it, Magnum Mills. It's time, my dude. We've got some big developments in this episode. Hit me with a couple of predictions for next episode and or the rest of the season, bro.
We already talked about this one a little bit. I think we both agreed that Fuchs is going to get at least 1, maybe 2 more Vengeance Panthers rolling around. And I'm hoping we get some funny, just like, again, like when Cousteau was trying to kill Barry, just the people kind of realizing it's not that easy to actually assassinate somebody, no matter what you think. Maybe it would be interesting if you see these, wannabe assassins trying to take each other out so that they can be the ones who kill Barry or something like that. I feel like Barry's about to go to a dark place, so I want to have some other stuff lightening up the episode. So I got some hopes for that. I think we also talked about, I think Sally's going to take Natalie for granted. That could be a thing, especially because Sarah's currently staying at Natalie's place. What you got for me, JG?
Yeah, I think a couple of things here, man. It was funny that the last time kind of we saw Mr. Cousineau, Barry was telling him that, you'll never have to see me again. That is absolutely not going to be true. Barry will see him again. And is there a chance, Magnum Mills, that Barry maybe moves in with Mr. Cousineau here? I mean, where's he going to go? Sally
Barry knows 2
tomorrow.
people. Yeah, Fuchs is probably in a hotel, so his options are move in with NoHo Hank or move in with Cousineau, right? What else is he going to do?
Those are his only 2 people.
I mean, I guess he could get his own place. He had one before or something, but I don't know. I don't think Barry's in a space where he could handle that right now. I don't think he can deal with looking for a place and signing a lease and doing a security deposit. He's just going to show up somewhere and be all fucked up and be like, I'm here now.
Yeah. And I think Gene's gonna take up the laws of humanity, and he'll be back on scene. He won't be former actor Gene Cousineau anymore. He'll be current actor.
So if you had to guess, like, say he's on Laws of Humanity, he keeps killing it. Do you think so other places are calling him to do a guest star? Do you think he shows up on Joplin, or does he go over to the dark side and he does Pam? Because the ratings are low and they're trying to get a little bit of boost so that he's going against Sally.
Oh man, I think that's more interesting, but I think somehow, some way he ends up with Sally and Joplin.
All right, well, how about this one? How about you see Joplin, he gets off to the hot start. What if after 4 or 5 episodes it's really tailing off? So then they decide, oh, we'll bring on Gene Cousineau. He's killing over on Laws of Humanity. Sally likes him, but then they start having a thing because he helps the show, but she's like, oh, it's my show, and now everyone likes him or whatever. It's supposed to be about me. Oh, that'd be kind of interesting.
That would be very interesting. Dude, it kind of feels like Hank's going to have to come clean with the guys, right? He's going to have to just fess up to Batir and the other dudes and just let him know about his relationship with Cristobal, or will he continue to lie about it and just form some sort of partnership with Bolivians?
See, this one to me is easy. They should tell everybody. And at this point, who the fuck is left in the country? I guess they can keep sending these guys in from another country, but those dudes always seem to die anyways. The only one who's living is Batir, and he was ready to go on a suicide mission last episode. So I'm not sure what the success rate is on these guys. I think they should just partner up. And that's what Cristobal wanted originally, right? I mean, when they came to kill him, he's like, why'd you come try to kill me? I would have just partnered up with you and shit. Now I'm going to kill you all. Like, why don't they just be like, we're doing the thing. We're uniting the houses. Fuck off. We're gonna run the plants around here.
Yep, plants exclamation point. I would be all there for that.
You know what broke me though? Do you think we'll ever get to find out what the guy's favorite sauces at Buffalo Wild Wings were? This is bothering me a little bit.
Dude, sadly, I don't think we're ever gonna get to know him. That's a real tragedy, man.
I mean, you know what my favorite sauce at Buffalo Wild Wings is?
What's your favorite sauce?
The large beer.
Oh yeah.
Buffalo Wild Wings is great. You go to the bar, they have big TVs, they have fairly cheap domestic draft beer, big ones, and no one's ever there because the food is shit.
Yep.
I'm sorry if you love Buffalo Wild Wings, but I grew up in the Buffalo area, and those are wild wings. I'll give you that. They're wild wings.
Oh, they're wild. All right.
They got the wild part, just not the Buffalo part.
Exactly. And just newsflash, people, they're not called Buffalo Wings in Buffalo or anywhere in Western New York. They're just called wings.
They're just they're just wings.
They're just wings. Hot, medium, or mild.
Like in Philadelphia, you don't ask for a Philly cheesesteak. You ask for a fucking cheesesteak.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. We're damn near done here, Mills. I just need you to tell us what's coming next, right here on the Barry Podcast.
Easy peasy. Next week, we will be covering episode 5 of season 3, titled Crazy Time Shit Show. Looks to be a very boring episode where nothing will happen. And look for the next episode of the Barry Podcast to drop on Thursday, May 26th.
Thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show, a drinking encouraged production. We hope that you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Only takes a few seconds. We really, really appreciate it. Helps us out a ton. Magnum Mills. Tell the people where they can find our content, which happens to be super chill and totally free.
Yeah, and even though we're free, we still have the same excellent quality of support as Detonate, so don't get that twisted. This has been the Barry Podcast. Find us on social media and your favorite podcast platform at Barry Podcast. You can send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com or from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We are also covering the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul on Saul Over Soon. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Saul Over Soon. We are just wrapping up our coverage of Ozark from Netflix. We're the Ozark Podcast on social media and your favorite podcast platform. We will never stop covering It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because the gang will never stop being hysterical. We are the Night Pod Cometh on social media and your favorite podcast platform. And it's just about to drop on Netflix, so don't sleep on Peaky Blinders because we are PvP, a Peaky Blinders podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and social media at Peaky Podcast. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And we really hope that you enjoyed this episode. But if not, there's no need to worry. I'm pretty sure that people can change.
And always remember to turn off the Wi-Fi before you press the detonate button.
Makes sense. And fuck Bluetooth. This has been the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Barry, HBO, Alec Berg Inc., Han Arpley, or Warner Brothers Television. The views here are those of the hosts only, and they do not reflect those of any other person, organization, or entity. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.